morning and welcome to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Time check right now is 7:41 a.m. It's time for us to look through the major trending stories on the front pages of our dailies, and we have our papers here as always, the Punch, the Guardian and Vanguard newspaper in a particular order. All right, and we'll be looking through the papers from now till about 8:30. And by 8:30, we take a short break. We're back by 8:40 for the segment where our dear listener gets to be a part of the conversation. But as the show progresses, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Please do well to join the program via those platforms. And you can also share your thoughts and your own analysis of the stories as we proceed on the program. All right, my name is Omobola Sandra. I will not be doing this alone. Fuad Sahid will join via the phone line to give analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. Today is Friday. It's a beautiful, beautiful Friday, and I hope that we're looking forward to spending some quality time with our family, friends, and our loved ones. It's very, very important for us to pay attention to our family at this time, because a lot of people, everyone, one way or the other, is going through one, struggle or one challenge or the other. So it's just very important. If you can look out for your, your friends or your colleagues as well, it will go a long way. All right. So please, let's do what we can. Let's be kind to ourselves. Let's show kindness. Let's show love. Let's show care to our neighbor. Very, very important. All right. We'll kick things off, of course, with the Punch newspaper. There's quite a lot for us to look at, as regards the stories this morning, from the federal government and Labour settling for 70,000 naira to the crude oil or the oil sector conversation and whatever struggles or challenges that Dangote is going through, and the federal government's outburst in recent times as regards, the expectations of Dangote refinery and even the expectations of, the NNPCL. There's just a lot to take away, but there's a lot for us to look forward to discussing this morning. But before then, good morning, Fuad. How are you doing?
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. I'm good. How are you doing? Thank God it's Friday.
Well, one way or the other, yes.
Let's just tag along.
Yes, Abby. What can we do? We just have to do what we have to do. All right. Well, I just mentioned, the major story that's on everyone's heart right now is the fact that the organized labor, as I don't know if they bowed to pressure or they just had to do what they had to do. One would think that, from 595,000 naira, we're going to get at least 6 digits. At least, 6 digits, at least 100,000. Let's just know that, okay, we're working with something here. But, it's quite a sharp fall, don't you think, from 595 that Labour was clamoring for some months ago. And here we are now at the final junction, 70,000.
70,000 naira. Well, like they say in the streets, half bread is better than none. Or they say half bread is better than cheese.
Yeah.
At all, not bad. Well, I've always said, Sandra, that at some point we have to just move on with our lives. We can't just remain on this minimum wage conversation. It's taking too much of our time. There are, for me, more important issues when it comes to nation building that we are not focused on. It's become too much of a distraction, really. Like I've always said, the last demand of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC of 250,000 naira minimum wage was actually not an unreasonable demand, but it was unrealistic. We had said it severally, if you remember, Sandra, that I'm not sure anybody will pay 250,000 naira as minimum wage. Of course, there's also the conversation around consequential adjustments, for other cadre of workers, which was going to be a problem, really. There was also the conversation around inflation, and how sustainable it would be, really, to have such a minimum wage at this time. So we had said it severally that it was unrealistic, but it was not unreasonable if we're going to be looking at the cost of living at this time. But again, you remember that when Edo State announced 70,000 as minimum wage, what we said on this platform was that, look, it could just be what we would adopt nationally. Let it be the standard.
Yeah. If a state can afford to pay that, then...
Exactly. So let's just... And we suggested that it should be around 70 to 100,000 naira. But at the end of the day, somehow we've been able to resolve this. We have 70,000 naira on the table. The reality is that it's not going to solve any problem, really. It's not going to
I was going to get there, Fuad, because are you aware that there are states that are still paying the 18,000 naira pre 30,000
minimum wage? So I think the battle is going to leave the federal level now to the subnationals. So you have the organized labor now rallying their troops at the different state levels. And one would expect that there should be like some form of joint movement. So it's not just you leaving your state arm to run their battles alone. This is the time for Jᴏɪṛ Aᴊɪṕᴏ
the national
to also join
the national leadership working with the state chapters.
With their state organs now to also ensure that our governors become more reasonable to the plight of their workers. You understand what I'm saying? It's ridiculous to know that after we moved from the 18,000 naira minimum wage to 30,000, there are still states that are not paying 30,000 naira minimum wage. The federal government has given a standard. I know that there are states that would still not pay 70,000 naira. The states that are still paying 18,000 naira would not definitely pay 70,000. So, but let's have something decent for our workers. Let's have something at least that can bring some form of succor. And then we'll move on to more important issues when it comes to nation building. Again, well, thank God that this has been resolved. We can move to other things.
Yeah, but still in this report, there's quite a lot that we can also take away from here because we also have here that the president has assured. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, with you, Sandra.
Oh, okay. The president has assured the organized private sector that they're going to do whatever it is that he can to support, to support them with a business-friendly environment. Aside away from all of that, we also have Sanwa and Nasu, who had been crying out, for some weeks now as regards the fact that they still have 4 months withheld salaries with the federal government, and now the president has directed the payment of these withheld salaries. We also have the organized private sector crying out as regards, the electricity tariff. Now, from the report, the National Assembly will on Tuesday get an executive bill on the new national minimum wage following an agreement between President Bola Tinubu and labor leaders on higher remuneration for workers. The NLC and TUC, led by their president Joe Ajaero Festus Osifo, agreed on 70,000 naira during that meeting, and the wage will now replace 30,000 naira minimum wage which expired in April 2024. And now, of course, to give legal teeth to the agreement ahead of its implementation, the special advisor to the president, confirmed that the lawmakers will get the executive bill on the new minimum wage, and that by Tuesday we'll get something as regards that particular one. And the president, yes?
For the organized private sector, what I would tell private business owners, is to not really bother with all of these sweet statements coming from the government. The reality is that the challenges are there. It will continue to be there until real and tangible moves are made by the government to create that enabling environment for businesses to thrive. I think for business owners, the first thing to look at now is to look at how to run a sustainable structure for your business. When I say sustainable structure now, experts will tell you to look at lean budgeting, for example. Look at what you can sustain. Don't run an extremely elaborate structure, that you will not be able to sustain. This is also the time to begin to look at how workers can multitask, to begin to reduce overhead costs and what have you. Also, when it comes to energy sufficiency, this is the time to also get a bit more creative. Again, what I'm just trying to tell business owners now is to understand that just take care of yourself as much as you can. It's going to be tough. It has already been tough. And the end is not in sight really for business owners. So as far as those challenges are concerned, so forget about all of these promises. Really, just take care of yourself and find a way to sustain and keep your business going.
Well, before I go into the requests of the organized private sector, because the OPS was demanding incentives in order to be able to keep up or catch up with this new minimum wage, the organized labor was trying to explain why they had to take this stand. Ajaero expressed mixed feelings about the agreement, but noted that the NLC would take the proposal back to its members for further discussion and buy-in. And he said, and I quote, well, we were here last week and we are here now. What they have announced in terms of the amount, 70,000 happen to be where we are for now. But the good thing is that we will not wait for another 5 years to come and review. Rather than settling on a figure that will wait for 5 years, it's like we'll have to now negotiate even 2 times within 5 years to go up. That's one of the reasons why we decided to reach where we are today, because of the proviso that we can review in the next 3 years. And that's, what he's saying. That's why they took that stand.
I'm hoping that labor does not limit the standard of living of workers to issue of wages and salaries. Because again, creating decent living, quality living standards for workers, for me, goes beyond how much they earn, really. It's not about wages and salaries alone. There are tangible issues. There are serious issues that concern the welfare of workers that I think organized labor is still not doing enough to address, especially with the government. One of them is the issue of housing, Sandra. I've always said it because of my own experience with the housing sector. It's really unfortunate that as we speak, Sandra, you still find a lot of civil servants in Nigeria, many of them, retiring, spending years, 2-3 decades, eventually retiring without a roof over their head. So, for example, what is organized labor doing, Sandra, as to housing for workers in Nigeria? Can they get to a point where, look, no matter how much you earn, you don't retire without having a roof over your head? You understand what I'm saying? Mass housing for workers, for example. What efforts are they making to ensure that their workers can have a roof at least
thank you very much
head?
for bringing this up, Fuad, because yesterday, on Wednesday when I was having a conversation with a town planner on the Big Talk, he said the major reason for all these informal settlements under bridges and all those other issues and all these shanties and slums is because we have a major housing deficit at the moment. So people just do whatever it is. So if, just as you have said, just highlighting or buttressing what you have said, as regards the fact that labor only seems to pay attention to
the wages and salaries
when there are so many other bigger issues. I mean, the 3 basic necessities of a human being is food, clothing, and shelter. So the
issue of food inflation too, because it's not how much you earn that matters, Sandra. What can I
do with what I earn?
With what you are earning. So
70,000 naira cannot buy a bag of rice.
You can't even buy a bag of rice as we speak. But again, they will tell you that there's going to be consequential adjustment. It's just for the least paid worker in the country, blah, blah. But the reality is that there are more. Up till now, even pension fund payments for workers, how their pension funds are managed, the time value of money, for example, as to why their pensions have to be left, utilized by these pension companies, and then until they retire, when probably those monies don't have real value before they can access it. We've talked about the possibility of them accessing their funds even before retirement. There's the NHF conversation, that's the National Housing Fund conversation. What really can it give to workers in terms of housing? So
the NHIS as well, insurance.
A lot of issues that I think the labor leaders need to now begin to bring to the table as far as the welfare of workers are concerned. Not really just about wages and salaries, but again, it's one conversation that will never end. I think we just have to move on with our lives.
All right. Well, I want to also look at the Ministry of Labor as a whole. The fact that a lot of these things had to get to, the president had to be personally involved in all of this back and forth. But aside from the 70,000 agreement, the president of NLC also went further to say that there are some other incentives that were also discussed that would lessen the burden that Nigerian workers are going through. One of which is the CNG buses. We are
still on this CNG discussion, right?
Yes, we are. We are.
Okay.
We are.
All right.
It has been rolled out in some places.
Rolled out where?
Yes.
Where exactly?
In some places.
Tell me now where.
In some places.
Where now?
You are an investigative journalist.
So wait now. Okay, maybe we should get one or two of our listeners.
I'm sure
their daily journey from work.
I'm sure Prince Wise can testify to the CNG bus.
Maybe they should tell us, how the journey from work home every day, and if they ride on those CNG buses, where they've seen it, have available that these CNG buses and all
How
of that.
much it costs to ride on these CNG buses?
So let's because again, we've been on this CNG conversation now for since the Buhari era. We're talking about CNG, or we are bringing conversion kits, or it's a new thing, blah blah. But remember when the auto expert came into our studio, you know what he told us, and what we've always said on the show. We need to ask ourselves really whether this is an idea that is actually doable, if it is realistic, if it's a realistic idea. Looking at our own peculiarities, the cost of putting the infrastructure in place, the availability of gas. People have even said that, look, while we're unfortunately looking at using a natural gas, turning into compressed natural gas for vehicles, we should actually be looking at them for generating electricity. Again, the technology, the availability, and people are saying that, look, the rest of the world are actually moving away from CNG vehicles. They are actually looking at electric, powered vehicles. Most of the auto manufacturers, standards, the major ones, have stopped producing cars with CNG,
They're going electric now.
They are going electric. So if the world is moving away from that technology, why are we just starting it and why are we celebrating it? Right. And even if we are starting it, can we actually do it? We need to ask ourselves.
Well, aside from that, there's also the student loan scheme that one way or the other is also, they said, will also ameliorate some of these hardship that Nigerian workers are going through at this time now. So these are the measures that Joe Ajayi was saying that aside from the minimum wage conversation, there are also some other incentives that is coming alongside of it. Well, the organized private sector, the DG of NECA, Mr. Adewale Smart-Oyenride, said, while we commend the president for putting to rest the immediate issue of the national minimum wage, we must also note, most importantly, his commitment to support the subnationals and the organized private sector to pay the new wage. Yes, exactly. So it's a luta continua at the state level.
Yes.
So the organized private sector, on their own hand, said that they will require support from the government, that the government needs to take some definite steps to reduce the current economic burden on the organized private sector. And the support requested includes reversal of the increase in electricity tariff, CBN redemption of all outstanding forwards for companies in the productive sector, a freeze on the introduction of new taxes and levies on businesses for the next 5 years, duty exemption on imported conversion kits, and conversion subsidy, government subsidy on procurement of same. And others are fixed rate of 800 naira for the assessment of import duty on all production input, revisit of the recent Financial Reporting Council regulation that will curtail its application to private businesses, enforcement of the Executive Order 3 and 5 on patronage of made in Nigeria products by MDAs of government and the National Assembly, and also discontinuation of price verification portal as it is inimical to the smooth operation of businesses on the basis of setting up no longer exists anyways. So among other things. So these are, just part of the
interventions.
Yes, that the organized private sector is requesting for in order to be able to meet up with this 70,000 naira pay. All right. So that's that.
It all looks good and sounds good. All looks good. Yeah.
So help us God. It's all right.
But please take care of yourself.
I will try. Thank you.
And for other Nigerians, so please just try and take care of yourself.
And also business owners as well.
And business owners, so most importantly.
We wish them all the best. All right. Well, that's the major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Minimum wage. National Assembly gets bill on Tuesday as Tinubu and Labour agree on 70,000 naira. And we have riders here that says federal government says minimum wage for review every 3 years. Labour leaders justify new salary. President directs payment of NASU and SANU's withheld salaries as organized private sector rejects electricity tariff. That's the major headline on the front page of the Punch. Moving on now, we also have here 423 billion naira probe. El Rufai alleges bias, 6 case transfer. So the conversation continues as regards.
Let the court decide.
Okay.
The case in court, really, I just hope that. I know Malawi Nasir El Rufai is a fighter. It's not one man that can be bullied into submission easily if you follow his track record. But because it's a case in court, and so that we don't sound prejudicial, I think we should just leave it. It said that the court the Chief Justice of the Federal High Court should please look into the case of the George Alini's case. It's alleging bias. I think the courts will decide eventually. So let's just, what can we do about it?
Well, that story is on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here this rather unfortunate story that happened in Unilorin, where there was a campus crash and one has died and several others injured. That story is on page 4 and 5. Pages 4 and 5.
How fast was the commercial bus? Because it was, I think, like a 괶oroqui, small.
It was like a 괶oroqui of some sort.
So how
within
fast
the
was
campus.
within the campus to have,
to have crashed.
tilted over and then killed a student, a female student. Because if within the campus, I'm sure there will be speed limits. And how fast can you be run within the campus to have been in this situation?
Or did he hit something that, tipped it over, or what exactly?
But it would still be hitting something and tilting over is still a function of speed. You understand what I'm saying? It's still a function of speed. For you to hit something and tilt over that way, you must have been on some crazy speed, really. And within the campus, that's just the issue for me. Because it was right inside the campus.
Yeah. The driver is still alive, is being treated
Yeah,
at the University Health Center. So hopefully we'll be able to get more clarity as regards that particular
That's
one.
what really happened, yeah.
All right, we also have here on the front page of the Punch, just by the masthead, APC knocks PDP governors, military mobilizes against mass protest. That's on page 13 of the Punch.
Military mobilizes what?
Mobilizes against mass protest.
The military. Against mass protest.
That's what we have here. That's what this report is saying.
Well, I really don't know why the military are they mobilizing against Boko Haram or insurgency or external aggression?
Why is the military being mobilized against
mass protest? Does it sound? It sounds ridiculous, right?
By civilians. What's going on?
Unless maybe the definition of protest means a completely different thing in context of what we're saying. The context of what we're saying. If there's going to be a mass protest, I think it should be the job of the police, really. Because that's about internal security. If it begins to look like the protest will threaten national security.
So what came to mind when I saw this particular headline
story
for Had is maybe, just maybe, what do you think, that maybe they're trying to ensure that we don't have a replica of what's going on in Kenya,
and so you use the military. If you don't want a replica of what happened in Kenya, so it is the military that you are going to call upon, right? Do you know what the army is supposed to do? Do we actually know the job of the army?
I think it's been lost
in
somewhere.
Country.
I think somewhere, just somewhere.
I think we modeled everything up somewhere. Right?
Just somewhere. Maybe from the moment they started guarding pipelines. Maybe from the moment they started guiding pipelines. I don't know.
Pipelines and what else.
Maybe it's somewhere along that line.
Because again, that just recently we saw the military, escorting or bringing back a dethroned monarch into the city of Kano, the army. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why we keep talking about the fact that, look, we seem to be overstretching the Nigerian army. They are overstretched. We call them upon for everything and anything. I'm just saying that it sounds odd to me, to have a report that the military is mobilizing against the possibility of mass protest. It doesn't sound well to me. It doesn't sound well exactly because we are in a democracy. You understand what I'm saying? Where protesting itself is supposed to be the fundamental rights of the people, so long as they remain peaceful about this protest, if you understand what I'm saying. But for us to begin to hear, it's not even the police now. We're hearing the military mobilizing against possibility of a
joint effort now, because when you say military, they didn't just say the army. So that means, every one of them, one way or the other, is going to be.
It should have been more. When you talk about the military, the first thing that comes to mind is the army.
Yes, that's
you understand? Yeah. It would have just been perfectly worked if all of these talk about, we're ready to ensure that, look, there's no mass protest that would, threaten the internal peace and security of the country. If these statements are coming majorly from the police, we can begin to rationalize it, but not the army. People have still continued to question what the army did at the toll gate in Lekki. Why was the army called upon? In those days, what we know of army is kill and go. Anything army has to finish everything. It's not to go and begin to rub people's heads and what have you. People have, it's still a question that has not been answered. Why did we call upon the military at the Lekki toll gate? The police could have been able to do the job. You have riot policemen who could use water cannon, pepper spray, tear gas to disperse. If you think the protest is becoming a problem, why did you have to bring it? And a military that came in with live ammunition, Sandra.
Yes, Fuhad, I mean, that has always been quite a debate as regards what happened October 2020 at Lekki toll gate. But with this particular report coming in now that the military yesterday is gearing up to crush a mass anti-government protest. Crush that's been planned for August 1st. But away from that,
because the word crush now is bringing up the terrible memories of the military regime in Nigeria. I'm surprised that we're having this in a democracy. When you say crush protest, those were the things we witnessed during the dark days of the Abacha regime. So are we trying to recreate the dictatorial extreme tendencies we saw under the military against dissident voices, against voices? I'm sorry, it sounds somehow to me.
Well, it does.
And it's sounding somehow because of the job I do too.
Whether or not the protest will hold, or whether or not, or why we're calling on the military to help as regards, protests, which normally isn't supposed to be much of a big deal. Protests happen all over the world. Just have
but we keep it peaceful and
calm and doesn't disrupt other people's livelihood or businesses or whatnot. But then what we have now, because we're still going to go deeper into that, anti-government protest, all right? But very, very quickly, this PDP, APC, back and forth, because the APC is responding to something from the PDP. The PDP expressed dismay and grave concern over the mismanagement of the economy by the APC-led federal government. And, they are further, that's the PDP Governors Forum now, urging the president to take immediate action to restore the nation's former glory. They lamented that, they tried to highlight some significant, progress that was made during the 16 years of PDP leadership. But then the APC, through the National Publicity Secretary Felix Morka, said the opposition party deserves to cover its face over the rot that it accommodated during the 16 inglorious years. So just a lot of back and forth. The statement is titled "PDP Governors Barefaced Heirs of a Legacy of Sleaze and Ruin."
The case we have here is the court calling the kettle black.
Because it's just like, what are you doing?
What are they even saying? You understand what I'm saying? We are talking of 25 years of complete rot and terrible governance in Nigeria. And then somebody is blaming someone. The people that are blaming themselves have, in the past, also moved between the two parties. I'm sure if you do an analysis now of people in the APC today, about 30 to 40% of them will be former PDP members. And if you go to the PDP and do the same thing, you will also find people who are formerly in the APC. So it's not about party now, or about leadership in the country, failed leadership in the country.
All right, Fad. Thank you. Well,
in these 25 years of sustained democracy, it's been back to back of failed leadership across the two parties.
Oh, all right. Well, so many things to discuss for this morning. I crave your indulgence.
Okay,
More details
move.
on page 13 of the Punch newspaper. Just some political banter between the two major political parties.
They should leave us alone. They should be doing their banter, but both of them it's been failed leadership from both sides, whether it's 16 years or 20. All from 1999 to date, I can tell you, critically speaking, this is the back-to-back of failure, complete failure, and we are hoping that it's
right. all for all the parties, both parties. None has taken us to the promised land in one way or the other. But then 10 minutes past 8, and you're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We're going to be moving really fast because there's still so much to discuss, and we're still on the front page of the first paper. And moving on now, this really interesting story, very quickly forward. CBN resumes BDC dollar sales as Naira has weakened to even 1,570 Naira. Oh no, what just happened? Okay. Yes, so what the report is giving us this morning now is the CBN has resumed the sale of foreign exchange to eligible Bureau de Change operators as the Naira fell to 1,570 at the parallel market. So the CBN is selling dollar to BDC at a rate of 1,450 thousand naira per dollar. And this was disclosed in a statement by the acting director, Trade and Exchange Department at the CBN. So they are saying, and I quote now, following the ongoing reforms in the foreign exchange market with the objective of achieving an appropriate market-determined exchange rate for the naira, the Central Bank of Nigeria has observed the continued distortions in the retail end. To this end, the CBN has approved the sale of forex to eligible BDCs to meet the demand for invisible transactions. So the sum of $20,000 is to be sold to each BDC at the rate of 1,450, representing the lower band of trading rate at NAFEM in the previous trading day. So, but then BDCs to sell to eligible end users at a margin that is no more than 1.5% above the purchased rates from CBN. I don't know how they're going to check that or how they're going to regulate that. But what do you think about this, Fuad? Oh no. Oh wow. All right. Well, I trust that is somewhere, to join the conversation very, very soon. But let's go back to what the report is giving us here now, because as at yesterday, dollar is selling at about 1,600, which has been a huge cause for concern for a lot of people. I think, Fuad, do we have you?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yes. So, your thought as regards the CBN trying to, do some rush hour, intervention.
No, it's just we started again. We need to start to defend the naira again. It's getting to another level of free fall. I think that yesterday at the parallel market was selling for 1,006 plus. So it was getting scary again. So anything you hear as the CBN selling dollars to the BDCs and telling them how much to sell basically translates to us defending the naira again. We did it in the past. I think some few months ago, where we were able to push it down to I think 1,000 naira or to about 900 naira.
January, yeah.
And people had hoped that was sustainable. I said it was not sustainable because we're basically just using our reserves to defend the naira. I think we resumed it again, but Sandra, it's not sustainable. That's just the reality. Until we get to that level where organically we can begin to earn enough forex into the country. All of this approach is just knee-jerk with catching the sauce. It's not going to solve any problem.
Okay. Fuad, thank you very much. The story is on page 17 because we need to, quickly move on. I need us to get to the salary cut conversation and the crude supply conversation as well.
Two major issues.
Issues, yeah. So what we have now coming, in the report is that the reps are pleading against the anti-government protest that's been planned for August 1st. And aside from that, I also have here that, they have accepted a 50% salary cut, that their salary is 600,000 naira. So, in order to be able to help the pain and the hardship that Nigerians are going through, they are willing to part with 300,000 naira. And that's
at least for 6 months.
Very, very charitable. So
very, very charitable. Very selfless.
Very selfless. For the next 6 months, the members of the House of Reps have agreed to donate 50% of their salaries to assist the federal government in addressing the economic situation. And the resolution was a sequel to a motion of urgent importance where, member representing Ifo, Ewekoro Federal Constituency, Ogun State, Ibrahim Isiaka, who moved this motion as an appeal to the proponents of the proposed nationwide, protest. But as regards this, and they have also called on the executive as well to, also join.
Do the same thing.
Yes, to do the
salary
same
cutting
as well. Yeah,
it's what standard. So that we don't waste too much time on this. I think organized labor has also said that though. When we talk about sacrifices, about what they get, wages and salaries, it's not really about salary now. It's about the humongous allowance because the salary is not. It's like 10% of what they earn cumulatively. You put all of the allowances together. I think we did a review.
Yeah, we did.
Of what the average legislator earns in Nigeria.
29 million there.
For the senator, I think for the rest, something up close to about 19 billion naira per month or so. So it's not really the salary. They are so fast to tell you about their salary without really giving you details of their humongous, crazy, unsustainable and reckless allowances that we give to these legislators. But again, I would prefer a situation where they get all of these things. They get their salaries, get their allowances, but work to create an enabling environment for Nigerians to thrive. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, what Nigerians are asking for is for them to do what they are elected to do, create that enabling environment, get more committed to nation building, stay away from corruption. Let us know this is what you earn. This is what you earn. For all of these things about constituency projects that eventually lead to diversion of public funds and what have you, let them do their job that shows serious commitment to nation building so that they can create an enabling environment for Nigerians to thrive wherever they find themselves, whether in the private sector or the public sector. That's what we are demanding for. They can have their salary. Okay, if they are not getting their salary, are they going to give it to you and I?
And that's what I'm going to. So when this happens, what exactly happens? Is that they transfer it to a
No, it's not to show that we are also part. They are also part of us. That the things you are going through, we're also going through it. I think it's just for the optics, really. Now, so that you also know that we're also sacrificing. You can see that our 600,000 naira salary. Are you telling me that it's because of 600,000 that these people go to the House of Reps? Were we not in this country when we read the story where an House of Reps member said he spent over 500 million naira defending his election? So it's because of 600,000 naira, Sandra. Let them just take their salaries and everything and work.
It's all right.
No, I'm not deep. We reviewed it. The man said he spent 500 million.
Let's stay within the surface of 600,000 naira. That's what they want us to believe anyway, so we'll just work with that.
Okay. All right. But then they should have their salaries. We don't need that. Let's just let them work to build this nation. So that's it. That's it.
House of Reps, that's about 390 of them or 309 of them or so.
What would happen to them? Are they going to give
300,000 naira from 390 people?
Sandra, let's it's not like joking and making a joke of the reality of Nigerians. It's a joke. I think it's just a joke. And we don't need these kinds of jokes now. Let's get serious.
All right. Well, there's a lot to take away from that report. You can get more details of that on page 12. I mean, you have responses from some people as regards the proposed nationwide strike that's to be held between August 1st and 10th, 2024.
This strike or protest?
Protest, rather.
Why this work? Because this protest, we've been hearing about protest. I really don't know where. Because again, I would not really subscribe to any protest from any faceless group. Faceless. Because again, what are these guys calling for this protest? What are their intentions? What do they really intend to achieve?
But there's not really, because just as you said, faceless, Fuad. Because they're just a flyer on social media that's just going around that there's going to be a protest. Who are the people organizing it? Who did the flyer? What exactly is going on? And all of that. So it's not like some people came out and said, "Oh no, it's Suwa, enough is enough."
But why the government is concentrated and really disturbed about this attempt to, maybe cause anarchy, cause disturbances in the country, because of probably some people somewhere who are just bent on throwing us into crisis and chaos. I think that, look, they should be more concerned about the yearnings, the pains of the people. They should listen to the people and begin to work very hard to begin to solve those problems. That's just my advice to government.
Well, more details on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. I'm moving on very quickly now. 20 minutes past 8. Oh, just very few minutes left, and there's still so much to talk about. Crude oil supply. Federal government continues.
Let's talk about that one now.
Fuel importation as reps probe IOCs. So, the importation of refined petroleum products into Nigeria is going to continue alongside production of commodities by the Dangote refinery in order to prevent monopoly and ensure energy security. That is what the federal government has declared. They have warned against being over-dependent on the Dangote refinery.
They don't want monopoly.
Nobody
should monopolize it.
That the demand by the refinery that all oil marketers should buy product from the plant does not support competition. Amongst who? Who are the other people?
Let's go. Among them and among Dangote and the importers. So what they are saying is that Dangote should be competing with the importers. And who is the importer here, Sandra? Who is the sole importer of PMS?
NNPCL.
Okay, good. Go on. Continue with your story.
So there's a lot to take away from this. The House of Reps, constituted an ad hoc committee to probe allegations of non-supply of crude.
They are always probing. I'm interested in what that agency is talking about Dangote.
So what we have now is the NUPRC, that's Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, insists that It is doing a lot to ensure the supply of crude to
I'm looking
Dangote
at the
refinery
midstream guy now. I'm waiting for the midstream guy.
Okay, Fuad, and other modular refinery operators. The chief executive of NMDPRA, Farouk Ahmed, said the government would not stop the importation of petroleum products, saying Nigeria cannot depend on one refinery to feed the nation. Now, I crave your indulgence this morning. I know today is Friday, we don't have so much time, but please, I have just like a minute or two to play. Let's listen to what Farouk, in his own words, so that it's not like, oh, I heard it on radio. In his own words, Farouk Ahmed is the chief executive of the Nigerian Downstream and Midstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Regulatory Authority, which is an agency of the federal government. So one way or the other, speaking on behalf of the federal government. So let's just listen to what he said.
What he said about Dangote refinery.
About him. All right. So please stay tuned. It's still Midland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers.
Well, just like you rightly asked, there are a lot of concerns about supply of petroleum products nationwide, and the claims by some media houses that we're trying to scuttle Dangote refinery. That is not so. Dangote refinery is still in the pre-commissioning stage. It has not been licensed yet. We haven't licensed them yet. They are still in pre-commissioning. I think they're about 45% completion rather. So we cannot rely heavily on one refinery to feed the nation, because the Dangote is requesting that we should suspend or stop all importation of petroleum products, especially AGO and jet kero, and direct all marketers to the refinery. That is not good for the nation in terms of energy security, and that is not good for markets because of monopoly. So, in terms of quality, currently the AGO quality in terms of sulfur is the lowest, as far as West African requirement of 50 ppm. Dangote refinery, as well as some modular refineries like Walter Smith's refinery, RD refinery, they produce between 650 to 1,200 ppm. So in terms of quality, their quality is much inferior to the imported quality.
Thank you very much.
Well, Jesus is Lord. Anyways, there's a lot to take away from that. Let me just highlight the things I was able to note. Inferior products, not yet licensed, pre-commissioned. They say because it has sulfur. I'll get to that too, because we need to make people understand why that sulfur conversation is coming up, and because people need to know, the complicity of the federal government in that particular.
He said Dangote refinery is for 3% completed, just for 3%.
So we also have here that it is not licensed. They've not licensed Dangote. Dangote refinery does not have license. I also got there that it's 45% completed, and I also got there that it's still in a pre-commissioning stage.
They've not even given the license.
It's in a pre-commissioning stage. Fuad, they're saying that Dangote refinery is churning out inferior products. Dangote refinery is in a pre-commissioned stage. Dangote refinery is not yet licensed, and that Dangote refinery is 45% completed. This is just how many days after we learned that we don't have 20%, it's 7.2% that we have.
I told you, Sandra. I'm actually, again, the Dangote refinery has not replied, has not responded to me.
Of course, they'll be rebuttal. Yeah.
They're going to respond. It's been a lot of back and forth. Why Dangote refinery is claiming that they have the best product? They are even talking about the fact that, look, the imported products are so terrible. This man here, as we've heard from him, directly from his mouth, he's telling us that the sulfur content of Dangote refinery's product is even more terrible than the ones they are bringing into the country, and that, look, they have to continue to import. He's also talking about competition here, that somebody wants a monopoly. Whereas the NNPC, these are the guys, when we talk about the cabals, when Dangote was talking about the cabals, the mafia in the oil sector, why he regretted even building the refinery in the first place, this is what we're dealing with, Sandra. The man is talking about monopoly, whereas the NNPCL has been the only one importing fuel into this country. They gave out licenses, but those ones have not been able to bring in any product. So what is he talking about? Where is the competition, really? And if Dangote has the capacity, Sandra, to produce PMS in this country, from our own local crude to sustain the country alone. What is the big deal with that? And if I didn't say that we have to continue to import, you don't see why our own refineries are not working standard. Can you now see why our refineries will never work? Or even when they pretend that it's working, nothing will really happen in those refineries. Because there are people who want the status quo to continue. They know what they are getting from us importing refined products in those countries, despite the fact that we are oil producing nation. Sandra.
Fuad, now they're saying that Dangote refinery, it has, what was that again? That the quality of the product that he's churning out is
bad.
Now, okay, it has sulfur. We don't have sulfur in our
but
own
European
crude.
countries have been buying his product.
Our own crude here in Nigeria does not have sulfur. It's an amazing crude. It's called sweet crude. So if there's sulfur in whatever Dangote is churning out, doesn't that go
is too much. That's what he's saying.
Doesn't that go a long way into where he's getting his feedstock from?
Look, Sandra.
When we have NNPC here with crude.
Look, what we are saying, Sandra, the rest have said they're probing IOCs, blah, blah, blah. And, you remember when they first told us that they can only mandate the IOC, they can't force them. I told you that, look, it's just a pure hypocrisy. They know what they are doing. Look, for Aliko Dangote to alter the world, I regret building that refinery. That word is pregnant with a lot of meaning. And even the revelation that at the end of the day, we're not able to get a 20% stake in that refinery. We only did 7.2. I said it yesterday that, these guys are refused to do the 20% stake. Are there things they know about the refinery that we don't know? In the public, they'll tell you that, look, they go whine you, but no fall. No, people are whining us, Sandra.
This was something that was widely celebrated before former President Buhari left.
Recently, the Senate President went there and said Dangote is the Lee of the oil sector.
So, and then all of a sudden now he's craving monopoly and
he's
not even licensed.
I told you about the leadership of the oil sector. That until we flush that place, until we sanitize that entire sector. And when I talk about the leadership of the oil sector, from the NNPCL to all the other agencies and power stations, until we flush that place, Sandra. When I say flush now, rid that place of those who have been here for years, holding back the country, who don't want anything to change, who are getting no beer. Look at what this man is telling us, Sandra. Look at what he's even saying.
Pre-2024 or pre this renewed hope administration, the conversation around then was the fact that Dangote was going to be a game changer. And now we are getting reports now that we cannot depend on Dangote refinery for energy security. That's what
energy security conversation has started. Whereas our own refineries, we have refused to make it work. We have been shifting shifting dates every day.
So it's in a pre-commissioning stage. So how do
God bless Nigeria.
How do you have a multi-billion-dollar manufacturing
$20 billion
that is in a pre-commissioning stage?
And the man is already moving products out of the country, selling to other European nations. You are saying it's about 45% completed. You have not even licensed it. And that the man is looking for monopoly. Whereas you, the NNPCL, have monopolized importation of PMS. Although you pretended to give license to people when you knew they would not be able to raise dollars to bring in products. Well, is that not monopoly in itself?
This is quite a hot one, I must say. This is the federal government now. And let's not forget that some weeks or so ago, Dangote also came in guns blazing, also accusing the federal government of quite a lot. And now the federal government is responding. We're waiting for a response, of course, from Dangote, as well as regards this. We've run out of time, unfortunately. But it's really painful that we couldn't look at all the other stories, because there's also the conversation around the fact that, marketers are saying that landing cost of petrol is now about 1,004.
We talked about that yesterday.
Yes.
We're
also not able to look at that. Exactly.
It brings us back to subsidy payment.
Yes.
And the subsidy payment is still as a result of the fact that, look, there are people who want us to continue to import this product into the country. They know what they are getting from it. They are feeding part on the nation. They are killing the nation. These are the enemies of the country we have been talking about now, Sandra. These are the enemies of the country we've been talking about.
Huh? That's a wrap for now on trends in the papers. Of course, the conversation continues. Not to worry. Stay tuned. There's going to be a lot, as regards this particular hot topic. That's the crude supply. So stay with us. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll move on to mainland focus. The people are already dropping messages on Facebook and on WhatsApp, sharing their thoughts as regards all what we have been discussing. Not to worry. When we come back, we'll take these as the show progresses. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. Please stay tuned.